Mortlock teaches tap to youngsters and is studying for a teaching degree in dance, even though she has arthritis.
More people than you think have got it and are going through it. You're not alone.
Natasha, you were supposed to stop.
Lauren Cassidy is 17. She's a prefect at St Mary's College. When arthritis ended her playing days, she took up coaching.
But chest passes have to be stronger.
Like, my friends know that I go to the hospital and they're okay with it. And they ask if I'm okay and I say yep, and then we just carry on.
Melanie Sloan is an outstanding teacher and winner of the 2010 Attitude Supreme Award. She was told teaching would be too demanding a career for someone with arthritis.
Probably when I was about 14 or 15, I decided that it was time to not dwell on what is inevitable as me having arthritis, but to build a bridge and kind of move on.
3 young women who refused to give up on their dreams.
A lot of people who I say, oh, I've got arthritis and I'm doing this dance degree, think it shocks a lot of people. It's not something they would commonly put together.
Anna Mortlock has been dancing since she was a tiny child. But it takes more than just training for Anna to move like this. It takes a truckload of courage.
Yeah, maybe I am taking a little, a bit of a challenge, but that's okay. I'm not one to just sit there and go, oh well. Some days are hard as well, but I really want it, so no matter how long it takes me, I'm going to do it.
Pain and stiffness are everyday companions, but she dances through it.
I just love it. It's my life, it's my passion, it's just, I don't know, it's just in me, and yeah, nothing will stop it.
And close, other side together, and fondue.
Anna has rheumatoid arthritis. At 17 years old, she was barely able to walk and underwent a total left hip replacement.
And fondue, and then up, just really
Now it's an artificial hip joint that makes dance possible.
More recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had to have this wrist reconstructed. The ulnar head was sticking out so much from the joint being damaged that these 2 tendons snapped. So I needed to have the tendons repaired. But in order to do that, I had to have the joint fixed so that they wouldn't snap anymore. So I've got a big screw through there and some bone out from there so I can still twist to a degree. And yeah, it was quite major. Mid-year last year, I was just holding a cup of coffee in this hand and I went to catch the drip and this just twisted and dislocated. They didn't know what was wrong. They put me in a cast for a couple of weeks and then splintered it and it seemed to come right. But I have a feeling that this tendon problem and all this in here is a result probably from that happening, and I've had both my elbows been playing up. This shoulder's been giving me grief on a couple of occasions, like really big flare-ups for a few days where I can't lift my arm and then it will settle. My knee's been giving me a bit of grief. I've had to wear a brace some days, and both my ankles have been red and puffy on different occasions. So it's just really moving through all the joints of my body at the moment.
Hi Lorraine, how are you? Okay, I'm just going to weigh and measure you.
Lauren Cassidy is 17. Auckland City Hospital is as familiar to her as her classroom. Ever since she developed a mysterious fever at the age of 12, she's been coming here.
I guess it is kind of my second home. I'm there a lot, so I know it. And especially the day stay unit, because I go there every fortnight, so I know all of the nurses and they know me and the receptionist.
5 years ago, Lauren came down with a high fever and a rash all over her body. A fever that lasted 8 months.
At first, my mum thought that it was growing pains, and then I had a rash that developed all over my body. And then from there, it just started getting worse with pain, so I couldn't really walk properly. And so I went to hospital, and they couldn't find anything wrong and thought it was rheumatic fever. So from then on, just went in and out of hospital, but the pain just started getting worse. And I just always had fevers, and it was just, really hard.
For Lauren and her mother Vicky, it was just the start of a long road.
My daughter was a healthy teenager at 12, she was very sporty. She was just starting her life into becoming a young adult, and all of a sudden, you know, it was a crippling, you know, there was just no signs. So coming to terms with that was really hard, and also, you know, seeing Lauren lying there, it was horrible because she was a well child.
That was the first sign of me having arthritis. Sometimes it gets really raised. I used to call it my 3D rash. When I got this rash on my back, and my dad was really worried, and that's when he told my mum that he was going to take me to hospital.
Inflamed and swollen joints make the simplest task hard work. Lauren can't hold a pen for long. For her exam, she's allowed to use a keyboard. Her form of arthritis, juvenile idiopathic, affects her entire system.
What's it say on the board here? It's $5.40. Give Georgia a clap, everybody. Well done. I was told I'd never be a teacher, be too physically demanding. So, of course, what did I do? I applied for Teachers College just to prove them wrong. and obviously because I love kids, so I've just never looked back. 4 and 6 is 10, carry the 1, 5 and 5 is...
Melanie was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 2. Since then, she's had both hips and both knees replaced. At the end of last year, Melanie had a shoulder reconstruction.
After I've done something, whether it's go out and you know, take a lesson or go out into the community and do different things, activities, what they don't know is that I come home and I sit on my couch and I go, oh.
School was a pretty tough experience for her.
It was like going to school every day with that butterfly feeling in your stomach. There were some days where I'd be fantastic and I'd be able to join in and do everything like every other normal child, but there were other days when I was so sore that it just, doing anything like that involved moving or getting up and down off the floor was just painful. So I actually really didn't enjoy bits of my schooling when I was younger.
The first signs of Anna's arthritis appeared at 14. By 16, she was only able to walk on crutches.
I'd just wake up in the morning, especially in winter, and it would be cold, and it was just like, okay, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get out of bed and have a shower and then have someone dress me. And then when I was on the crutches, if it was raining, is it going to be slippery? Just stay in bed. So some days it was just easier. I was almost in denial. If I kept doing this, it wasn't really happening. So it was about 6 months before my hip replacement was scheduled. And it was just, I was getting around on crutches, but yet somehow I was still dragging myself up onto the stage to compete.
I was about 8 at the time when she actually had the hip replacement, but before that, you know, I used to go to competitions and watch her dance, and she used to be amazing on stage. As soon as she came off the stage, she'd be limping, she'd be in pain, she could hardly stand, hardly walk. And, you know, during the last few weeks, she was on crutches, and that was really hard to watch, but when she was on that stage, you would never know.
Come and sit yourself down.
Lauren's appointment today is with Dr. Sue Rudge, one of the few rheumatologists in New Zealand who look after children.
You sit yourself down like that.
And is it very much morning still, or is it all day that your hands are sore?
It's more at night.
Is it? Yeah.
Like maybe around 6:30ish.
That's all okay.
Lauren's arthritis is an autoimmune disease. The body attacks itself.
Okay. So which joints are the ones that bother you?
It's just my wrist, because they're
Wrist,
still
really?
really stiff.
Yeah. Straighten them out again for me there. So these little joints here, if I give those a squeeze, are they sore? No. So they're all...
Her fingers have been swelling up too.
Yeah.
Remember,
They look a little bit puffy,
Yeah,
don't they?
they do.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
one's a little bit sore.
It is, yeah. If I squeeze that, is that a little bit sore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought only older people get arthritis. I didn't know children are affected by arthritis. So it was a big relief that it wasn't something that was terminal. That was my biggest concern.
Is that sore when we do
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Actually, what I was worried about too was her having to go on all these medications, because especially with, I know with me and my family and culture, medicine isn't really a big thing. So it's more of a, oh my God, she's going to be on all this medication. Look at what it's going to do to her, and that's what was always in my mind.
But medication has made all the difference. A new generation of drugs has revolutionised treatment of arthritis for people like Lauren.
See you later.
Lauren started out on all the standard drugs. None managed to halt the disease.
G'day, Lauren. Hi. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah? Things going all right?
Yeah.
Your drip's not too bad?
No.
Okay.
But now Lauren is on Actemra, one of the new drugs called biologicals. These target and suppress proteins that trigger the inflammation in her body. And it's working.
Over the last 10 years, there's been a great burst of drugs which are specifically designed for arthritis. And they work in lots of different ways against the body's autoimmune system.
The whole process of the transfusion takes up to 6 hours. There's a lot of waiting, and Lauren's missed a lot of school time.
Because they are really impressive drugs, they are very expensive, they are very difficult to make, and potentially they may have side effects. They've not been around for very long, so we're learning about them.
These drugs can cost up to $30,000 a year. Not all are funded by Pharmac, but in Lauren's case, the drug company is supplying it on compassionate grounds.
It's working brilliantly well. If you look at the graphs of her levels of inflammation, we were talking about inflammation, they're just a scale of numbers, but if you're over 100, it means you've got seriously bad inflammation. Lauren was running, despite being on prednisone, despite being on methotrexate, all the other drugs, she was running inflammatory markers way over 100. They're now down to less than 1.
It was a real challenge for rheumatology, actually, for managing Lauren's arthritis. She's been one of their most difficult patients in regards to managing her JIA. It's been a challenge for them. But the best thing about it is that, since having this new medication, it's just given her a whole new lease on life.
Ten years and 1 hip replacement later, Anna is back in the world of dance, pursuing a diploma in teaching.
I think when I first stopped to have my replacement, I sort of just focused on getting better. And then my teacher said about a year after that, why don't you teach? Why don't you think about teaching? I'm doing a teaching diploma. And I went, that sounds really cool. I may not be able to do everything and perform. My dream of dancing professionally or whatever was gone. And that's when I thought, well, if I can't physically do everything, I'm going to find a way to teach it and portray what I want to others and pass on my passion. So that's why I'm here.
And switch it all the way through and 40 down to the other side.
30 years ago, childhood arthritis meant deformed and twisted joints. But these new drugs have largely prevented that.
Excellent, Tondu. And close other side.
Even so, while arthritis can be controlled, it cannot be cured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
A few months later, and Anna is experiencing another flare-up of inflammation.
It's just really unpredictable. One day I could be just feeling a bit sore, and the next day you could wake up and have a full-blown flare. It depends on how controlled the disease is, if you're on the right medication and finding that balance. Just this weekend gone on the Saturday, everything hurt so much. It was just, I just couldn't do anything. I was just on the couch, and that's not like me. I'm usually still really, doing everything. But that day, a friend rang me and she said, "How are you?" And I just burst into tears and said, "I'm fine." But just everything hurt. And she was really lovely, and she came and made me dinner. So yeah, friends and family are a huge support to me.
When Anna's wrist dislocated last year, it was while doing the simplest of tasks, holding a cup of coffee. Everyday life is that much more of a battle, but it's a disability that's mostly unseen.
So if you could do some more in the carrot. I just can't put any pressure on it because of my wrist, so I can't slice it through. That's why I think a lot of people will see you during the day or, you know, meet you or whatever, but they don't appreciate. And to them, like on a good day, I could look quite fine and normal. And it's not till you have a bad day that you sort of, the people that live with you realise what you're going through.
All through her school years, Melanie too endured chronic pain. She's not had the benefit of the new generation drugs and has had multiple surgeries with both knees and hips replaced.
When I was at primary school, I tried my very best to cover up having arthritis and the fact that I was different from all my peers. And I got to probably 14, 15 where I kind of was in this wee rut where I wanted to desperately not be different, but there was a couple of pivotal moments where I kind of came to the realisation, well, this is it, and I can dwell on it, or I can build a bridge and move on. And I just decided that I was going to show everyone that it doesn't matter if I'm different to everybody else. I was going to prove to everyone that I could achieve really well at school and I could join the groups I wanted to join, and ultimately I wanted to be head girl just so I could prove to all the other people, and not necessarily from my school, but just, you know, the whole persona of having to be a top A netball player or, you know, top in the rugby team or top in this. I wanted to prove that I could be anything I wanted to be. Mōrena tamariki mā.
No one could mistake Melanie's determination and effort. And she did become head girl at her school.
We know that you love everyone, we know that you love me.
Girls, are you ready?
Living with arthritis is hard work, and it's at its worst in the mornings. From the moment Lauren wakes up, she's aware of swollen and inflamed joints. Rushing is not an option.
I always do stretches when I wake up because it just helps my joints move along faster so that it's easier for me to get up. But my back always gets a bit sore. My knees are usually always sore because there's fluid around, and my ankles always get sore and there's fluid around them now, which restricted me from walking. Before, it was really hard to do a lot of things. When I first got arthritis, I didn't go to school as much.
In the days before getting the right treatment, Lauren was so stiff she couldn't even brush her own hair.
I couldn't reach behind my head, like brush my hair, so Mum had to do that.
Piata, have you got your PE stuff ready?
Yeah.
What Mum will do, so Piata, in the morning you guys have to catch the bus, okay?
Breakfast is complicated by a regime of medications that keep her mobile enough to get to school. Even though she's on Actemra, it has to be bolstered by a whole range of steroids and painkillers.
In the morning, I take methotrexate, which is to help with my joints not becoming deformed when I grow older. I take that every Wednesday. And then there's my iron tablet and piroxicam, which is pain relief. And I take that just when I need it, especially if I'm having a late night because of choir things or netball. But I usually take it more when it's coming up to an infusion because I can feel it kind of wearing off. I usually take one of these because piroxicam makes my rash come up and it makes me itchy. So I take these with the piroxicam so that it balances out. All of the drugs have different side effects, but most of them stop the pain, but and then something else happens. So that's why I usually just take these all the time.
Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, because we're going to go in 2 minutes.
Arthritis takes a toll, not just on Lauren, but on the whole family.
Make sure the lights are off.
Vicky holds down a full-time job as a health educator while bringing up her girls.
Make sure all the lights are out, eh?
On an almost weekly basis, she has to take time off work for the many hospital and specialist appointments that Lauren needs. What's more, Vicky says arthritis is a hidden disability. You can't tell by looking at Lauren.
People look at Lauren and think she is a well child, and it's hard, you know, like even my family, they thought, well, there's nothing wrong with her, because she looks okay.
There are plenty of support groups for kids with arthritis, but for Lauren, it's all about being one of the gang.
I started going to all of the support meetings and stuff, but I just sort of thought that I just want to hang out with my own friends and just try to be normal. Just like not going to hospital all the time. Or like, it just got a bit boring, I guess, hanging out with other people that had arthritis. Because you can't really have as much fun as people that don't have arthritis, because at one point they're all going to be sore. So it just seemed better to hang out with my own friends, because at least they were all well.
Sometimes I just walk really slow, so Holly just sometimes tugs me along.
Yeah, and
or like takes my books and folders and stuff.
we kind of just don't accept it as a barrier in our group, and we treat her how we treat everyone else in the school. When she's like, we don't see her as Lauren with arthritis, we see her as Lauren, like Lauren, our really good friend, like, and she's never judging or anything, which I think is really good, because she kind of got that from like having arthritis. She's never really judged anyone else with any kind of problem or issue.
No, wait, hold on. Natasha, you were supposed to stop, and then Angel, you have to run in front of her.
This year, Lauren has made prefect. It's a huge honour, and in part recognition of her courage and determination to keep going against the odds.
She just wants to just be a normal teenager, you know, and I was warned by my colleagues at Arthritis and Rheumatology that, you know, now Lauren will be able to be like a normal teenager, and I didn't experience that because she was 12 when she got sick, but now that she's off all, like especially the prednisone, well, she is behaving like a normal teenager, so I'd never experienced that before.
And everyone knows that I have arthritis, so it's not really like it's a big deal.
Full change. 1, 2, hop knock. 1. So we're doing the second one, not the third one.
3 nights a week, Anna runs her own tap and hip-hop classes.
6, 7, 8.
She almost gave up on a life of dance, but experience has given her a new perspective.
Good girls, eyes up.
And I had kind of talked myself into the fact that, I can't do dance. I might be able to teach the odd class part-time, but there's no way I can make it a career.
And turn around.
And then last year I went, do you know what? This is what I really want to do. I want to teach dance, maybe drama in high schools and stuff. And I was like, no, gonna go back.
Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2.
Meanwhile, Anna's courage and insight made her an obvious candidate to become something of a mentor to others.
Stomp, hop, down.
She's now one of Arthritis New Zealand's young ambassadors. That means speaking to school groups and passing on some of what she's learned along the way.
I always say to the kids, it's how you deal with it that makes you who you are. So everybody has problems. I mean, maybe physical, old people, financial. It doesn't matter what problems it is, but it's how you deal with it that makes you who you are, and always remember that.
After spending years dealing with her own condition, Melanie now reaches out to others. She's well known in Oamaru for her community work. Outside of school, she's a friend to a young woman with an intellectual disability.
So this weekend, you're excited? Who's going up with you?
Pat.
Oh, cool.
And my sister's going to be out there now.
Oh, yeah. It started out through the IHC buddy system, but now Katie's just a friend. We just hang out, and I do it because I enjoy doing it, but I also do it because it gets Katie out and experiencing life as a young person. I just like helping people. Like there was a need, and I tried to help it.
I think when you're that young and you have this old person's disease, it can be quite hard to understand and degrading, and you don't want to tell anybody because it sounds like an old person's thing, and it's not very, cool or anything. So I think just to say, more people than you think have got it and are going through it. You're not alone.
Angel, when you have the ball, you need to stop, okay?
Keep dreaming, but in saying that, I don't want to give them false hopes and thinking you can do everything. So I think my message is you can do everything as long as you're realistic, and don't give up, do what you want, and you'll find a way of doing what you want somehow.
I kind of look at my future as if it's like an oyster. The world's my oyster, I just have to crack it.
The Attitude ACC Supreme Award 2 to Melanie Sloan.